Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War, Warhammer 2, Quick Magic gameplay. This time around we are playing as Beastmen against the Wood Elves on the map Marbad's Tomb. As you can see, things are about to get hairy incredibly quickly because my opponent and I basically had mirroring strategies. We both vanguarded each other. So, without further ado, let's kind of break things down real quickly. For my lord, I did actually bring Kazrak One Eye, but not on his chariot. Now, he has gotten a big buff, now you can toss Kazrak on a chariot and still vanguard him, but I don't think that's really necessary against the Wood Elves. AP's overkill. Um, Honestly, it makes him an easier target for shooting. I'd rather have him on foot. I'm a little more survivable that way. Nonetheless, we are coming in with a whole plethora of spells. We do have Scourge, of course, for that self bonus and poison. We do have Apocalyptic Vision and Deadly Onslaught, so the usual sort of assortment. No Dark Mail because I think Dark Mail is still trash. I was tempted to try it just in case my opponent brought Durthu, but then decided against it. On the far front line, it is a whole bunch of Goreherd, and we have two Goreherd with the vanilla variant on either side. These guys are actually more expensive. They're dual wielding. They're more damage oriented. The guys in the center here are Goreherd with shields. One of them is the Black Orange Ravagers, which is the Regiment of Renown Goreherd. These guys have perfect vigor, which is actually amazing. That is one of the traits people often underestimate, but it means the melee attack especially tends to drop off a lot as you lose vigor. So this keeps it up high and really helps you in the long term. Otherwise, oh, well, and then they do have it because of routing, I should have mentioned, but still, that's very, very potent. They've got slightly better armor, obviously improved stats, but they're just a very, very solid and respectable unit in general. So I figured I'd use them. Two Ungor Raiders just to provide some range support. You still want range support against Wood Elves, I think. Even if you're fairly confident in your ability to shut them down with Centaurs, especially against Late Riders, you do want a little bit of shooting. Brace Shaman of the Wild here with Brace Scream as well as Devolve. I didn't bring Mantle of Gorok. I don't really think it's necessary against the Elves. Jagged Dagger and Bestial Surge to get that Vigor and Charge bonus, because Vigor, like I just said, is so important. Finally, on either periphery, we have two Centaurs and single Chaos Round with Poison. Mostly there to shut down Wild Riders and Cavalry and that sort of stuff, but also to harass the backline. My opponent has Vanguarded a whole bunch of stuff. You can see there's Wild Riders here, there's two Dryads over there, two more Dryads over here, so we've got a bunch of Dryads. War Dancers, Azrai Spears on either end, Wild Riders on either end. So basically just a symmetrical mirrored sort of deployment. In the center, he does have a Glady with the Prey of Anathrema, as well as the Eye of Kurnus, which is completely wasted here because she's not deployed next to the Way Watchers. I'm not a fan of that skill personally, but either way, my opponent decided to bring it for some reason. Dryads, and then the Unbreakable Winterheart Guard. These guys are absolute beasts. They take forever to kill, and that's I guess where their beastliness comes from. They just take forever to kill. They've got charge defense against all, which is a huge problem for beastmen who really rely on charge bonus, and they're just very atrocious. Over here, Spellslinger of Shadows with Melkosmos Miasma, Enfeebling Foe, and Permeable Pendulum, and then the Hawkeyes of Drakira, as well as some vanilla Way Watchers. So immediately we're pushing in, we are diving straight into the fray and trying to apply some pressure. So you can see over here the fight, I was a little bit slow on the uptake, and my Goreherd didn't really get good charges into the Dryads, at least not. And you can see they're going to get wrapped up here. A bit of a mistake here. I was kind of debating whether or not I should pile in, and finally when I do commit my cavalry, it's going to come straight through the woods, and it's all going to blob up on one side. What I should have done is been a little more patient and get a full envelopment. On the other end, I'm a little better about things, and instead of engaging, I pulled a Goreherd straight through the middle, and then once my opponent catches me over here, I do simply turn around, ball up on his Wild Riders, and keep him tied down over here, preventing him from coming in to reinforce the center, where my cavalry is running amok. Now, granted, there are War Dancers as our spears here, so I detach some Goreherd with shields to shut them down. You can see it's important to sort of tie units down to deny them. My opponent has made a bit of a mistake here, blobbing up both of his units. He's got both Dryads and the Winterheart Guard in there. Kazrak, of course, causing immense damage. And my opponent's in a bit of a grim spot here. You can see the Spellslinger of Shadows has been routed. He does hit my Centaurs with the Prey of Anathrema, but one unit doesn't matter. That's why you bring so much cavalry as Beastmen. So that no matter what happens, no matter how badly you get compromised, you always have plenty of cavalry reserve. You can swamp Wild Riders, that sort of stuff. And these Hawkeyes, the Way Watchers, despite decent melee stats, are not going to hold up at all in close quarters, and they're going to be interrupted. They're not going to be able to shoot these Centaurs, so they're going to get out of Prey of Anathrema with a decent amount of HP left and be able to run amok. Over in the back line, you can see the War Dancers of Azrai Spears having a pretty bad time against this many Bogors. We do manage to rout off the Spellslinger of Shadows, and the Brace Shaman of Wild is helping out here. He's kind of running amok, going hog wild with that crazy, ugly chariot. It's so ugly, just look at that. But either way, he's going crazy. The Hawkeyes are falling apart, and although I did get beaten on this flank pretty decisively, or maybe not that decisively, but I got beaten on that flank. I'm going to be able to rally. These troops will rally right before they flee the field, and I'm going to be able to thrust them straight back into the fray. and they'll do just fine. You can see over here the Gors will eventually lose out, but you know we're rallying. Over here on the periphery, you can see we're chasing out the Spellslinger of Shadows. I'm now, rather than trying to plow through the Azrai Spears, I'm simply relooping around, intent on flanking the Archers, as my Ungors wipe out what's left of the Hawkeyes. On the periphery here, you can see the Dryads and the Wild Riders did an okay job against the Gors. They're probably going to grind through, but my opponent's bottled up here. He doesn't try to flank with his Wild Riders. He just kept trapped. Over here, the Winterheart Guard is getting slaughtered. I've simply left the Gors and Kazrak to finish him off. The Ungors just push on. At this point, we're just focused on pressuring his troops everywhere and anywhere and everywhere. Once again, we get a nice little wrap here. You can see the dogs jumping in, the Centigors plowing in, and you can see the White Watchers running for dear life, but not able to do very much. Going in for round 2, we managed to wipe out the Dryads this time around. We're going to wrap up these Wild Riders, and with that, my opponent's army is basically, even though the balance of power is still a little bit of red there, but really all of it's being bottled up over here. It's only now that they're breaking through the Gore Herd. I still have these healthy troops here. We're about to wipe out the Winterheart Guard. My opponent is casting a Penumbral Pendulum here that I don't really see and don't really avoid, but really it's too little too late for the Wood Elves. As they're just getting mobbed on all fronts. Their units are shattering, and that's going to be game. I actually didn't even chase off the caster. I only realized that later, but so the Vanguard build is still incredibly potent against Wood Elves. As a PSA to Wood Elf players, this is something you should expect from Beastmen, honestly. Now, sometimes Beastmen will bring Bestigor, so you do want to bring some AP just in case. You obviously want tools to crack Bestigors. You want some tools to crack... what are they called? You want some tools to crack Gorbals, just in case. But you should be ready for mobs of Gors and Centigors, because that is an incredibly potent build against the Wood Elves. There's not too much they can do to stop you. Beastmen infantry, unlike a lot of other races, infantry is fast enough to overrun most Wood Elf infantry. They're just really, really quick. And now, granted, I think I made a little bit of a mistake. Honestly, I shouldn't have brought this many Gore Herd. I think vanilla Gors with their shields are probably a better matchup than for most of these units than the normal Gore Herd, just because that extra melee defense is pretty useful. And Beastmen get +5 melee attack from their pseudo frenzy anyway. So, I think it's Primal Fury. So you don't really, I don't think, need these Gore Herd. I think you're better off probably with more Gore. Maybe I should have just kept 2 for a bit of a glass cannon effect, but stuck with the more Gore Herd. Either way, you don't really, I don't think you really need this many normal Gore Herds. The Ungor Raiders Gallia work. You can see no unit here, no one unit here was hard carrying the entire group. And that's kind of what you should have with the Beastmen. You should basically just be swamping them, hitting every unit with multiple groups at once. The Wood Elves struggle to counteract that. One unit of Centigors will get dumpstered by Wild Riders. Hit Wild Riders, 2 units of Centigors and Hounds, they are going to fall apart. And especially if you properly micro, which I didn't really quite do in this game, and to get surrounds on the Wild Riders, which you can. You can definitely do that. You've got more mobility than they do. You can really pick and choose your fights and just mob them. And that's really the gist of this strategy. You collapse the flanks, then you overrun the back line, and all this time you're pressuring the front line with a bunch of Gors and Ungors, and it's so potent. As far as my opponent build is concerned, I don't think Vanguarding is a good idea against Beastmen. Even if you're trying to do a kiting build, I'd deploy pretty safely back in your spawn zone. You don't really gain anything from Vanguarding Dryads against Beastmen. You're not trying to pressure them. Like, granted, you could try to pressure the Beastmen, but even if you're trying to be aggressive against the Beastmen, I would still deploy further back, because the thing is, if the Beastmen do Vanguard like I do here, you are going to immediately have Beastmen on top of your backline, potentially. The Beastman, because he doesn't have much of a backline, doesn't have to worry about vanguarding everything to the max. You do. So I think that even if you're trying to pressure the Beastmen, be aggressive, deploy a bit shy of the front line, and or deploy right on the front line essentially of your normal spawn, and then pressure from there. You'll be fine that way, and there's much less risk involved, in my opinion. Nonetheless, good game to my opponent Gunlaug there. Definitely won a few flanks there with the Dryads, in spite of the fact of the long term. I think one of the big mistakes, really, the biggest mistake for him there was getting bottled up on that horde of Gors. Really, he should have swung the Wild Riders around, used the Dryads to slug it out with them. They would have actually been cost efficient, because Dryads are cheaper than Gors. Not a bad comp, honestly. The Hawkeyes, honestly, I don't think you need 2 Way Watchers. I'd probably go with Hawkeyes and then maybe just some deep wood scouts. I think you're honestly better off just bringing Wild Riders to counter large. You don't need this much anti-large, in my opinion. But nonetheless, good game to my opponent Gunlaug. And yeah, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining and fun. It was a very quick one. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. If you have any comments, any criticisms, anything like that, be sure to share them, and I'll respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I do appreciate you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.